My Aunt Helen, on my father's side, HelenKeppner. Your husband, my uncle, had one of the first movie theaters in America. That's super cool. He loved you. He loved his children. He loved his grandchildren. That's the focus. Asking children to make their bed, help with dishes, do the laundry, that's not abuse. Those are things that parents ought to usually ask children to help out with. Perhaps all of the children, grandchildren, should have been part of the military where you do those things and then 100 million more other things. It's called respect. And it's not an option. Philip, Sandy, and Roz. Sandy, who married her soulmate and had Sam and adopted Joe. Sam is excellent, working for a grocery store, always respectful, always enthusiastic, always greeting his family with a sense of respect. Excellent role model. His adopted brother Joe, wanting to study mixed martial arts. Beautiful. Rosalind loved her husband Jim, who was a Marine. Both of them smoked cigarettes, maybe a little too much. But they loved their children, Eddie, Jennifer, and Jamie. Eddie has 2 children from 2 different women, so I've always thought he should just be living in Utah, just like all the other Mormons with more than one wife. Jamie married Susan. Cool that she's a vegetarian and helps older people when they're in need. Jamie's had some degree of success in real estate, though like many, needed to also find a steadier position, perhaps in a mechanical shop. Jennifer may have had a sense of what it was like to be involved in a street kind of crowd, maybe. Maybe a little drinking, maybe a little drugging, I don't know. She went on to help people who are struggling with addiction. This is incredibly admirable, beautiful, and amazing, and excellent. Although I get the feeling all 3 of them have a nugget inside of them of anger, things perhaps held on to for a million years and then replayed in their mind again and again and again, kind of like a movie script that we just keep rehearsing again and again and again, and that affecting their relations with others. I know Jennifer, her husband, suffered physically with a health challenge. At the time, I was going through a very difficult scenario in my life and trying to be independent, pulling up by the bootstraps as much as I can. Can. While I could chime in a little bit here and there to help and would continue to do so. It's not my full responsibility to fully take care of another human being. It basically isn't almost anybody's, unless you're in the role of continual caretaker, which is out there in the universe. The best I can do, being human and not the creator, is just to chime in here and there with little sprinkles here and there. Little sprinkles here and there, kind of like on a cupcake. Wondering when Jennifer, Jamie, Eddie will sit, breathe, release every little nugget inside of them that they might be holding onto regarding anger and discontentment and upsetness, hoping they just release it so that we can move on, start a new chapter, reconvene, 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 as adults moving on and healing, truly healing, authentically healing. HelenKeppner, who then changed his name to Franklin, ironically ended up living in a town called Franklin for quite some time. Gosh, he always told my parents that he was a chicken farmer, except he lived in Humboldt County. He moved 3,000 miles, not only to the west, but 6 hours north of San Francisco during the 60s. I think he may have been more than a chicken farmer. He does have a little bit of property that he rented out for quite some time. I think he may have had some chickens too. But I think maybe he did more than chicken farming. And now that medical is established throughout the country, and recreational might be at some point, we can carry this conversation out onto a more public platform. But even if we couldn't, no matter what he did, I would just want to know him and spend time with him as he is part of my blood. His children. Cyrus, all biblical names it seems. So biblical that Cyrus moved all the way back east 3,000 miles, far, far away, with his fiancée wife, to, I guess, live out the rest of their life in a place like Virginia, perhaps. I think he worked for Total Wine for quite some time. Olympia went on to have children with a man who she loved and who loved her. She ended up, I think, declaring much of her family bloodline as being toxic and somewhat feeling the need perhaps to cut off and never speak again. This extreme kind of thinking is quite prevalent within my bloodline, and it's unfortunate, and it's dark, and it's scary, and it's evil, and it's satanic, and it's not good. It's cruel. This ghosting that's going on throughout America, it's understandable if somebody does something abominable, like steal $1 million from a brother, or fist fight with your own brother, or touch someone inappropriately within your family. But I never did any of those things to another person, not only within my own bloodline, never to anyone out in the world in general. So I am undeserving of extreme behavior like this. Undeserving. You're the ones that have extreme kinds of thinking, and this ghosting and this distancing is insane. It's gotten to the point of insanity. It's cruel on an emotional, psychological, spiritual level without any question whatsoever. Ultimately, after you run away into the forest regardless of what you're doing there, please turn around periodically and let's reconnect. Let's find areas, look for areas, work those muscles where you find areas where we do align and stay there. Instead of going on to the hundreds of millions of areas you think we disconnect. That's how you respect other human beings all over the world. Let's go have some coffee for a few moments. Let's have a light stroll, very light, because nowadays, as different family members have gotten older, they may not be able to do a 26.2-mile race like everybody in America preparing for various marathons throughout the country. You can do that on your own and get out your energy. Fabulous. But when we're together, a light stroll, a sound bath. Let's do a sound bath because you guys are kind of open to those kinds of things. Some people don't even know what that is, but I know what that is. I've done that a few times on my own with strangers. Would like to do it with my family. Include me in your lives. Reach on out to me too. Reach on out, reach on out, reach on out, reach on out. It should not be that I always have to reach out to everybody. That's not fair within my direction. Forgive imperfections as we are all human. You are not perfect either. My guess is your partner doesn't speak perfectly all the time. Nobody does. You need to allow grace and forgiveness. I almost forgot Elijah. What a name. He changed his last name to New Village, which means New Age. I'm not quite sure if he's aware that that has to do with healing, more alternative natural forms of healing, of which I've experienced everything from Tai Chi to meditation to homeopathy to Tibetan medicine, ... I even had naturopaths. One of them was one of the former leaders to the homeopathic movement in Cambridge, in Hartford Square, for many years. Elijah, it doesn't matter what your preferences are. Those are your preferences. But to become upset and never in the history of the universe converse again with your bloodline is dark. It's dark. I never did anything abominable on the heads of everyone's children. I would want to know you there in California. I have a huge background in the arts. I'm sure you would appreciate that if we ever reconvene. It's hard to believe you'd ever be involved with a partner because if you're seething and holding on to nuggets of upsetness and discontentment, it's going to be hard to believe that you won't explode like a teapot with hot water and extend all of that upsetness onto whatever partner you date. Separate from that person shouldn't receive any of this. My guess is that whoever that person is, if they're a decent soul, they'd be asking also for you to heal. And this is all about authentic healing. I would like to reconvene with you, with all of you. Please let's find areas where we reconnect. Please find areas that we align in versus disconnect. And let's heal our bloodline.